Welcome, friends and family. Um, I just got done with my message a couple days ago. Um, the costs and rewards of a relationship with Jesus Christ. If you did not watch that and you don't have a relationship with Christ, you might want to watch that. Uh, Basically, because I just give some reasons for why a relationship with Christ is so good, in my opinion. Um, So after I got done with that three-part message, I started going over what what was I going to talk about afterward? Where was I going to go? What was I going to talk about afterwards? And uh, so I started thinking about where would I want to go afterwards. And so I'll just say this. Um, this has been on my mind, and I've been trying to get this thing going for a really long time, and I just wasn't ready. Uh, Mainly because that first message wasn't ready. It was the message that God told me I needed to bring first. And so because of that, I held off anything else that I might be ready to talk about or whatever. But it was good because it got me ready. I feel like everything works out in God's perfect timing, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't fully ready at the moment that I had these other things. And so finally get this thing up and running. I feel like I'm ready to start bringing some of these messages, but um so I was sitting there thinking about where would I want to take take this? Where would I want to go after that message? And I think that the best thing that I can do is let's go on a journey. Let's go on a journey together. Let's really look at some I guess some evidence or you know, look at everything from an angle, I guess, of maybe as if we didn't have a relationship with God or we were just thinking about a relationship with God. Let's take this one step at a time, looking at it from the angle of somebody that may be considering uh, a relationship or whatever, or just on a journey together. I don't know how else to say it, but anyway, so I figured that the best place for me to start this mm, um, this journey would be uh, to look at because if I'm going to sit here and tell you about what the Bible says and the Bible says this and the Bible says that, you know, you might be thinking to yourself, well, why is he telling me a bunch of stuff out of a fictional book? So let's take a look at that because, in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinion, people that have a relationship with God, people that have a relationship with God will tell you without a doubt that the Bible is accurate, the Bible is true, the things that are said in the Bible are true, and their relationship with God is true. And so the first thing that I want to do, if I'm going to sit here and tell you about things that are said in the Bible and why they're important, first thing that I should probably do is lay down some evidence for why I believe that the Bible is 100% accurate, 100% the truth. The things that are in it uh, are the truth. So, all right. So the first thing that I want to look at is historically. So, is the Bible historically accurate? Um, I looked this up and you can find things on both sides that say, yes, the Bible is historically accurate, and other people that say, no, the Bible is not historically accurate. Um, so there is, I guess, scientists or whatnot um, that I found when I was doing a quick little search on this that said that one of the comments that I thought was the funniest was this guy said that the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus are fictional books. And I didn't go on to read, exactly why he says this. But what the first thing that I thought of when I read this was, how does he know that they're fictional books? Obviously, he wasn't there, so why is he basing uh, or claiming in a factual way that these are fictional books? What evidence does he have? And I didn't really read into it, so that's on me. But what I will tell you is this, is that more people uh, were absolute about the fact that it is historically correct than were absolute about the fact that it wasn't historically correct. What I will say is that there have been a lot of people that have that had the ability, that had the time, had the resources, and had the information to be able to really put an investigation together to try to prove that the Bible was not true, to try to prove that the things that were in the Bible were not historically accurate, only to find that they were historically accurate, they were historically correct, and in the end, converted to Christianity. Um, a good example of this, or so I have two of them that are wrote down here that you can check out. So one of them is Lee Strobel. I do believe that that's his name. I was just going off of memory on that one, but it was a book that that a I can't remember exactly what he was, but anyways, he set out to prove that God wasn't real, prove that the Bible was not accurate, that Jesus Christ was possibly not real, or if he was real, that he was crazy instead of making accurate claims of being the Son of God, only to find with his ability to be able to go over there and search through history and search through testimonies and search through all of these things and then talk to doctors. Some doctors believed, some doctors didn't believe. Um, and in the end, when it was all said and done, he converted to Christianity and believed without a doubt that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and that God is real and that the Bible is historically accurate. Another one is the book More Than a Carpenter by Josh McDowell. And in that one, I, I think it was something similar to that, where he was trying to disprove it and then ended up through historical means and sources, he was able to prove that uh, that Jesus really was the Son of God and converted into Christianity. But there's a bunch of them. So what I did was I looked up, uh, and so I'm just going to read this. I looked up, and I will give you, so you can do this too. This is, this would be fun if you want to get on your search engine and look this up. This is this was the exact search that I used. Uh, I just want to be 100% transparent with everything that's said. All right, so I just punched in how many stories are there of people that went to prove that there was no God and ended up through historical means, through evidence, through testimonies, found that God is real, Jesus is real, and they are sure that he is the Son of God and converted to Christianity. So that was what I punched into my search engine, and this is what I got back. While it is impossible to give an exact number, there are numerous documented stories and accounts of individuals who initially sought to disprove the existence of God or Christianity, but through historical research, evidence, and personal experiences, ultimately came to believe in Jesus as the Son of God and converted to Christianity. So, under that, it said here's a breakdown of why this phenomenon is observed. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but because they go through personal testimonies, theological arguments, examples of such stories, and then it just keeps going and going and going. But I thought that this one, the very top one, was interesting. It says historical evidence. The historical context of Jesus's life and teachings, as well as the events surrounding his death and resurrection, are often cited as evidence that supports the Christian faith. So people start searching into this, and they find through the evidence and through the testimonies, through all of these things, that the things that are cited in the Bible are actually true. There are hundreds of testimonies that are documented of people that seen Christ after he had already been nailed to the cross, things like that. Um, that if you watch that by the way, The Case for Christ is a book, but it's also a movie. If you watch the movie, you will watch him asking these specific people about those testimonies and whatnot, and it's pretty amazing what it comes up with. Okay, so historically, obviously, there is, it's subjective, I think is the word, because there's always going to be people that say that 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 it's a bunch of nonsense. It's all fictional and all of this. But the people that have really put the time and the effort to get the education, to do the investigating, to find out whether or not it is historically accurate, have, for the most part, found that historically it is accurate, and oftentimes they end up converting to Christianity and 100% uh, uh, going all in because of what they find, the evidence that they find that they were trying to disprove in the first place. So to me, that would be, something that I would mark as evidence for, for the reality of the Bible as being an accurate book, the Bible as being truthful, and also, uh, the argument that Jesus is the Son of God. Jesus is um, real. Jesus is alive. Jesus was raised from the dead and is living even right now. And the, you know, just from the historical point, I guess if everything seems to check out, then why would the rest of it be a lie? But so obviously, there's a lot of people that could argue against what I just said. It really doesn't, I mean, it would just go back and forth. But people have found that historically the things that are cited in the Bible uh, are correct. Okay, now let's go on to scientifically. So the reason why I started even tackling it the way that I am right now, and I don't know how much time I've spent on this already. I was trying to go like 20 minutes or something like that, just so that I guess so that somebody could watch this at the beginning of the day and it's not taking up too much time, or at the end of the day and it's not taking up too much time. It's not like some super long thing. So hopefully I don't ramble too much and go on. But so the reason why I started tackling the way that I did is because I was riding with a friend the other day. My friend absolutely does not believe in God, and I absolutely do believe in God. So, just just that statement that I just made. Obviously, if I'm going to be, if I'm going to try to prove to somebody that the Bible is correct, it is accurate, the things in it are 100% the truth, I can already tell you, I'm coming from a biased side uh, of the argument because my bias goes towards the Bible because I believe. And so since I already believe, anything that I say is going to come from a biased side. So anyways, so I wanted to look at this from, I guess, from the angle of somebody that maybe, is doing the investigation because they're not sure, but maybe they don't believe. So a non-bias, I guess, angle instead of an angle that is biased. But so the other day I'm riding with my friend and he likes to bait me into some things and he knew that if he was to play this clip, this thing that this guy was saying that I was gonna, if I heard it, I was gonna ask some questions on it. And so I'm not gonna say the guy's name. I didn't even know about the guy until after I asked the question, but because I don't want to talk bad about nobody or say something about somebody when I don't when I'm not giving them the opportunity to speak for themselves. But at the same time, so I won't bring up the person's name, but I will say what was said. So the guy was talking about how highly educated people would be praying to their God. And and basically it ended the little clip that he played ended with, and is this for any reason or something like that. And so I was like, who was that? And he told me the name of the guy. I said, well, what does he say? And so then we start listening to this. And the first thing that my friend says is he says, this man is highly educated. That's what he says, highly educated. So I'm like, all right, well, let's listen. Let's listen to what he has to say. So in the 20 minutes that I listened to this guy, he made a bunch of statements that sounded that he said them with absolute confidence and to anybody that hadn't done any research, they would sound like he really knew what he was talking about and that he had done the research and combed through data to get this factual statement. But the things that he stated were incorrect. He was not highly educated. He may be highly educated. He may be have his doctor's degree and be highly educated, maybe be a scientist. I don't know exactly what he is. This was the first time hearing him. But my point is that he may have all of that in different fields. But in this field, he's not highly educated. The things that he was claiming were not accurate to anybody that's done any research on them. And so to a crowd that doesn't know any better, it would sound real convincing when he said what he had to say. But that doesn't mean that it's accurate. And so, with that being said, I wanted to maybe just kind of look at that because oftentimes when it comes to science, science will try to disprove the reality of God. It will try to disprove the existence of God. And I'm not saying that all scientists do this. All I'm saying is that a lot of times in science books, they have this specific theory that they go on and they base it as fact. And then anybody who is coming up in that education is going to read these things, and that's fact. Obviously, they've done their work, they've done their research in order to come up with this specific thing that they have. Why would they take the time to go through this entire thesis and put all of this stuff down if they didn't know what they were talking about, right? That would be the thought that you would come up with when you are reading out of this super expensive school book, or whatever that has all of this information, factual information in it. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is, for a long time I was an electrician. Um, and I had learned some things from dudes that knew tons of stuff about electrical. I mean, they were so smart when it came to electrical stuff. And one of the things that I had learned from this guy that had taught me some stuff in the field, my little nephew that he was in high school, and he was sitting there telling me about this specific thing, electrical thing that happens. And I was like, that's not right. And he said, well, let's look it up. And he looks it up. And sure enough, my little nephew, super smart, he's right. And I was wrong. And the dude that had told me was wrong. And so what I'm getting at is that even though I had knowledge in electrical, even though the dude that I had learned from had mass knowledge in electrical, it doesn't mean that you're always right. And you may have enough education to where you start to build this complex that says, I'm highly educated. And so because of that, whatever I think is the actual reality of it, even though it may not be. And, and so that was a great lesson for me that But just because I'm educated in something doesn't mean that the source that I got it from was correct in the first place. And so don't base what I think I know as absolute fact unless I've done the research to find out whether it is absolute fact. So obviously, that goes back to what dude was saying. Um, the highly educated dude that that was making a bunch of claims that whether he was told by somebody else that these things were actual facts, or whether he just assumed that because he knows so much that he can just throw out some claim on his own thought process and all of a sudden it's fact. It doesn't matter. The fact is that just because you're highly educated does not mean that you know everything. And and so, you know, whether the dude is super smart and other things, he was incorrect on what he was trying to talk about. Okay, two, uh, second thing that I would say on this. So thinking about it from like molecular biology or cellular biology. So and especially let's take cellular biology. I like this one. Um, so inside of the cell, you have all of these different little living organisms. They're cruising back and forth and they're carrying all of this stuff. And I was reading something on this, and the doctor that was speaking on it, he was talking about how these little living organisms are so far advanced that we don't have any abilities to be able to build anything like these little organisms. And he was explaining it as like a little boat or something. It's got like a little propeller and a little rudder on it, and it just zooms back and forth, and it has the ability to just change directions and do all of these things. And it's so advanced that But we don't even have the ability to come close to building anything that even replicates this thing. So when I was thinking about that, when I was just thinking about this whole, uh, I guess the investigation into whether or not the Bible is something that you can count on, I was thinking about just that situation and how you you can't tell me that a scientist that's studying this little organism knows every single thing about that organism down to the point to where they can say beyond a shadow of a doubt they know it all, and that everything that they think that this thing does is that's it. It's the end all of learning about this thing, because just because we can observe it and we know what's going on with it does not mean that we know every single thing about it. And it may be later on that we find that the theory that we have on this specific thing is completely wrong. What that shows is that even though we have a theory that, scientifically, that shows that this is correct or this is incorrect, doesn't mean that we actually know whether or not what we are stating at the time is fact. And that's the thing about science. Um, so what I did, so let's take a look at this search that I did. Okay, so I figured this would be a good way of looking at it. So what I punched in was how many things in science books have been proved to be incorrect since 1970 until now. And what I come up with is it is impossible to give an exact number of the things in science books proven incorrect since 1970, as scientific knowledge is constantly evolving, and some facts, and it has quotations, you probably can't see it, but anyways, has quotations around the facts, are refined or replaced rather than outright disproven. And then, it goes on to give like a whole, here's a breakdown of why it's difficult to quantify and some examples. And then it goes on talking about certain theories, other theories, that we thought that that was the end all, that we knew for a fact. And then all of a sudden somebody else comes and proves that there's more to it. One of them that I thought was really interesting that I was reading. Um, and wait, maybe I'm okay. And this I was just thumbing through something, and found this on there. Yeah, so this was on just like on Google News, and it says researchers disproved their own work by producing power from Earth's rotation. Now, I don't need to read into the story. My point here is that they had their own work that was saying that something wasn't possible or that something wasn't true, and then disproved it by doing a little bit more research into it. Where I'm going with that is that if you are getting your information from a science book or from even a science professor or a doctor that says that, they have proved that God isn't real, they have proved that the the book of Genesis is absolutely absurd. They have proved this and they have proved that. Don't take that with a grain of salt, because in reality, the things that they claimed that they knew for a fact that were in the very literature books that you were reading when you were becoming a doctor sometimes end up getting disproven or changed in a different direction because they find something else out later. And so to say that science has proven that God isn't real, or science has proven that the things that are stated in the Holy Bible are actually just fiction because science shows that that's not possible. That doesn't matter. Don't base your opinion on somebody that's claiming fact when they actually don't even know anything more than just a theory of what they're trying to prove. And so I think that I'll end it here. This is a good, I think that I've gone long enough. This is a good place to end it. And I will pick up, I don't even know what I'm going to call this, but I'll call it something and then I'll have a part two next time to go on a little bit further with, I guess, with things that I've come up with as evidence to prove that either what somebody says, some highly educated person, what they say is fact may not be fact, and that what I've found through my own research is that the Bible is 100% the truth. It is the best fact checker that I've ever found in my entire life. Uh, to be able to go up against any topic that ever comes up. Bible always has an answer. You might have to search for it, but it always has an answer. And for me, it is 100% truth from beginning to end. So I guess I'll end it there. Thanks for joining, and we'll go further. Um, I guess probably in the next couple of days. Thanks again.